As deer season goes on, hopefully more and more of you out there are tagged out and looking for your next adventure. If you're not tagged out, well, maybe taking a break and switching to something else might help you break through your slow deer season. But if you've never gone coyote hunting, or maybe you've burnt out your usual spots, it can be kind of hard to get on top of them. Well, in this video, we're going to go over 5 ways to locate new, productive areas to hunt, whether that's public land or private. And the first tip, it's the same thing if you're trying to scout for deer, is to break out those maps. Now, whether you're old school and like to look at paper maps, or you use Google Maps or Onyx or Hunt Stand, it doesn't matter. Having a good understanding of the area is going to serve you tremendously when looking for new areas to hunt. When you're looking at an aerial map, what you want to look for is water holes, ravines, steep draws, and you even want to look for tight groupings of trees out in the middle of open fields. Those make great ambush points for predators. You can also use these maps to identify private land that you may want to ask permission to hunt. The premium feature of Onyx is great for finding parcel information, and even the free version of Hunt Stand allows you to see the information of up to 10 pieces of land per month. Which brings us to tip number 2, and that is to get out and talk with ranchers and farmers. Cattle ranches are my favorite place to coyote hunt, and I'll go out on a limb and say that all ranchers and farmers hate coyotes, and a lot of them will gladly allow you to hunt on their property if you give off the right first impression. And that can be kind of difficult if you're like me and you're one of those awkward and nervous people talking to strangers. Most people are surprised when they find out that I do YouTube videos. And don't get me wrong, I am just as awkward on these videos. The good thing is I just get to delete the really awkward ones. But regardless of how awkward and nervous you get talking to strangers, you have to get over it if you want to have more places to coyote hunt. And not just that, just life in general. If you're one of those people that can just go up and talk to anybody, then this should be really easy for you, and I hate you. And yes, I know you can call. However, doing it in person is much better. Somebody's going to be much more willing and comfortable allowing somebody else on their property to hunt if they've met them face to face. Now, when you do this, be extremely polite. And if they say no, just thank them for their time and leave it at that. Don't get pushy or upset that they won't allow you to hunt on their property. Now, if they do allow you to hunt on their property, use them to your advantage. You need to ask them where they've been seeing coyotes. Get as much information from them as possible. This will serve you tremendously on this property you've hopefully never walked on before. This will also hopefully allow you to build a relationship with the property owner, and you never know, they may be able to put you in touch with some friends of theirs that also have property and are willing to let you hunt there. And the third tip is you have to learn how to properly identify scat and tracks. You need to get familiar with what coyote tracks look like and what their scat or their poop looks like. I don't know why, but I was trying to avoid saying poop. But not only do you need to know what their tracks and their scat looks like, you need to be able to distinguish between old sign and fresh sign. In a coyote's track, you're going to see the claw marks, and they're going to be somewhat narrower than a household dog's tracks. And if you find a track that has no claw marks, what you're most likely looking at is a cat's track. Old scat is going to be dry, and it's going to be turning white the older it gets. Fresh scat is going to be darker, and it's going to be somewhat moist. And I probably just made any girl watching this video cringe. And the fourth tip is to go out calling the night before you plan to hunt. Now, this doesn't mean go out to the exact spot you plan to sit and start calling. What you're going to do is you're going to go out to the general area you plan to hunt and throw out a few howls. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get them to respond. You're not trying to get them to come in. You're trying to find out about where they are and about how many. And if you get a good response, you can break out that paper map or that electronic map and mark some potential locations for you to set up on those coyotes the next day. Just remember that the way sound carries, those coyotes are probably twice as far away from you as you think they are. Now, what I typically do is I will use that howl for about 30 seconds, and then I'll wait a minute before calling again. I'll do this probably 3 or 4 times before moving on to the next area. And the last tip kind of piggybacks off tip number 4, and that's if you cannot get a response by using a howl, try using a siren. Now, if you live out in the sticks, you probably already know that anytime a siren goes off, you will undoubtedly hear some coyotes howl in return. Now, these sirens can be really loud, so if you're anywhere near them, you'll want to use earplugs. And they mostly work best when you have multiple people. You have one person to work the siren, and then at least one other person sitting a pretty good distance away listening for the return. Sometimes they're so loud you can't hear the coyotes howling back at you. Now, some things to look out for when you're using a siren, and that's the first thing is that they will only respond to this siren one time. And the second thing you want to look out for is that you want to use this when there's little to no wind. That way the sound carries better. Now I know I said that they only respond to this call one time, and that's true, but they will howl for a long time. And a lot of times it's a really cool thing when you get one pack of coyotes to respond to the siren, and then a second pack will respond to that first pack. And then soon they'll be howling back and forth at each other, giving you a lot more time to pinpoint their location. So that was 5 tips for finding new places to coyote hunt. If you have any more tips, please share those down in the comments below. Hit that like button if you like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.